the end of the 70s, skating died off, and BMX was massive in Romford.
BMX was immense. That was when E.T. came out of the film, wasn't it? It just boomed like a mushroom. It was like unbelievable. This place was jam-packed with BMX riders, you know?
BMX kind of come into the scene around 79, 80, what I got involved in. And I would say around 1980-ish was when I first, had the grifter ready to ride the mongoose, but went over there on the grifter.
Hello, I'm the new rally grifter. I've got a new twist grip for my 3-speed gear, brand new saddle design, and look at those chunky tyres.
And I noticed that the skateboards, you see a few, it's still a big scene, but it looked overtaken by all the bikes. There was just BMX bikes everywhere.
In the 80s, this place was dominated by BMX, absolutely dominated. You see photos from the 80s and it's like hundreds of kids sat around all the bowls and, you know, definitely the boom years for BMX.
The place was packed. There was probably 150 to 200 people most weekends, you know.
I think what really got me was just all these amazing colours. I can still see it like it was yesterday, these reds and yellows and yellow tyres. Never seen a yellow tyre before. That, for me, was that was it. I was hooked on this scene and the sport, and it kind of just snowballed from there for how I loved it.
And they're like, well, driving lessons are on BMX. I'm like, well, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Didn't learn how to drive for another 15 years after that.
I got a BMX for Christmas. It was a rally, beautiful black and gold rally ultra burner, you know, without realising at the time, but it kind of was a sort of a game changer in the sense that it probably dictated everything else that I've done ever since, really.
You just wanted to look the best. You wanted to be the bollocks. She was 14 years old. You was riding around with a £300 bike between your legs and dressed like Bjorn Borg off the centre court, you know?
How the sport was moved on, we weren't really that good. I think we were just there at the beginning. We were just in a little bubble.
Yeah, I think that with us, we was more like stunt riders, really, than anything else.
Really? Stupple. This is a bit of an ego trip, calling it a Stupple.
Yeah, I suppose it is, really, but there's not really any other name you can call it.
Where do you practice a stunt like that? Where do you practice?
I mostly practice at Rom Skatepark.
I think now that the riders now have got a lot more finesse in what they do, putting runs together. Now, what we used to do was just go a bit mental, really.
It's a gentle skate park. Like, you come here and it's just like all really 70s transitions, you know, it's all rollovers and it's all... Oh, I've come here, it's relaxing for me. Like, Romford's relaxing, and even in the 80s, you know, there was hundreds of kids here. Maybe you'd start at the top and they'd be like, you'd hear the chant of, you know, going in, following him, you know, and there'd be like kids dropping in one after each other. But there was never any, you know, people wanting to fight. And I've never seen people wanting to fight each other at Romford Skate Park. Never seen it. And people get the ump because you might have dropped in on them at the wrong time. But no, I've never really seen sort of bad animosity at this skate park. It's one of the better places to come ride. You know, that's why I bring my kids here now. So it's always been a cool thing. You know, you go to other places and the skaters are like, hey, this is our place, skaters only. Rom was never like that.
You get the occasional prick will turn up and sort of start acting up, and I've literally thrown people out of here, like, you know, the bullying kids and shouting and screaming, so they get shown the door.
I think when it opened in '78, there may have been a little bit of friction because they didn't really like the BMXers, I don't think, to be honest. I mean, they wouldn't admit it now, maybe, but...
Yeah, that's me and my mates. And I know exactly how that happened. Yeah? Yeah. There was this war with the skateboarders. So we've got the BMX guys and the skateboarders who were crashing into each other. Remember it so clear that it's a couple of my friends and one of them had the front to do something, because I was only a small boy at the time. I think by memory that they started arguing, and I just see my friend with his helmet just go whack straight across his head, and then it was just a free-for-all. And everyone kicking and punching and, you know, and literally as soon as it started, it finished. It was waiting to happen. My friend who threw the first punch was the guy who was going to do it.
So I've got great memories here. Get a train up, it's all right down here, and Brilliant place. We used to come over here a lot with Andy Ruffles. There's Andy Ruffles, me, Kev, Andy, Nicky Matthews, the other mate, Rich McLennan, who raced for Ace. Some roadies were always over here. If we weren't over here, we'd be back to South Bank. The actual story is, the story of this teammates that started, I was the one who started it. 54 in January. I'll still keep on it now. I love it.
I hated it the first time I came here. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was crap. That would have been 81. And then something happened a whole year later. I saw a little bit of footage of Bob Haro. I'd seen something and it inspired me, and I was like, I need to do that. And then I was back over, and then I was over forever.
When Bob Haro was here, I had to grab him and get him behind the counter, sign my shirt, sign my head, sign my arm. I've never wanted to do that to anyone, you know.
Well, I mean, Bob's a legend, isn't he? I mean, he's, you know, I guess he's the godfather of freestyle.
Back then, freestyle really wasn't a sport yet. It was kind of this novelty. And so when I was invited over here and did shows like in Earl's Court or the NEC, you know, freestyle wasn't formalized yet. It was just kind of this halftime entertainment, if you will, in between motos and events going on, you know, was my performance. And at that time, everybody was BMX racing. There wasn't kids out here riding, like today, riding on ramps and stuff like that. So it was really novel. So it was interesting, you know, to come over here and see the enthusiasm. And all the kids, the first time, you know, seeing somebody do this on a BMX bike. For sure, I know and remember the Rom Skatepark. And when I went there, though, it was a standard, classic, rainy English day, so I didn't really ride that day. But I remember going there and stuff like that. And then throughout, you know, the years and the decades, I've always remembered the Rom Park.
But, you know, I think places like Rom, you'd see in all the BMX magazines, BMX Action Bike and Rad later on and so on. But it was also that kind of pilgrimage to kind of just, you had to go to. But when I actually went there, because there's this big kind of pool and a big bowl, it's quite intimidating, you know. BMX was sort of on its big wave of popularity in the UK. I think every kid had a BMX. And I kind of started doing all these tricks, which was new to the BMX scene at the time. And I guess I just practiced and got sponsored, basically. I was never that kid that just hung around doing nothing, because I had BMXing and skateboarding, you know, and actually both of those took me all around the world and probably really were the foundations for what I still do now. Gumball was created really as a combination of all my influences really on life, across kind of the whole action sports world, art world, and cars and music, which is quite diverse, but it's kind of what's made me tick over the years. Back when I started it, it was actually just a continuation of skateboarding. I used to skate in one spot, we'd skate it until we'd had enough of it or we got kicked off, and then we go somewhere else and we do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And the rally was the same. We'd drive to one city, we'd party, we'd cause a disturbance, and then we'd drive on the next day and we'd do it somewhere else. When I look back on it, I'd been doing that from the age of 11, and I'm still doing it now. But just now, there's more people coming out to see it, but it's exactly the same. There's this BMX competition in London, which was a really big deal at the time, called the Whole Shot. It was organised by a guy called Andy Ruffell. It was a big kind of freestyle competition. That was game-changing because American pros came over for it. I mean, I saw an American pro rider got off his bike and kind of did about 5 minutes of rapping. And I think I'd never seen rap music before. I saw skateboarding in a light that I'd never seen before, and just watching Gons like just freely kind of glide around this giant sports centre in and out of us BMXers, and just sort of volleying over benches and bikes, and it was incredible. I mean, it was incredible, and I guess that was the most inspiring thing for me to get into skateboarding, just seeing this guy just sort of do stuff that I didn't think you could do.
Andy was more of a racer. Although I'd been here when he rode here, it was more like he was a racer. He was one of the real elites, to be honest. He was pretty much untouchable. There was Andy, Craig Schofield, Sid Salisbury, Jason Maloney, and they was all like a little bit of a clique. They stick together. Yeah, it was hard to get in with them.
I suppose it could have been a little bit clicky then, but you know.
I wasn't in the clique. I was with Billy on the outskirts.
Well, in bicycle motocross, I aim to be very good at freestyle and very good at racing as well.
Over the whoops. And it's Andy Ruffell first for Team White.
And top stunt rider Andy Ruffell. At just 18, he's one of the biggest names in the sport.
I've actually managed to find somebody here who we haven't all seen for a very long time. Can I introduce you once again to Andy Ruffell? Hi, Andy.
Hi.
That was very cool, wasn't it?
I was a skater. I must have been 10 years old or 11 years old. I actually had my skateboard stolen at Skate City. And that's when I got into getting a BMX bike. And then when this place opened, it was great for me because I didn't have to go to Skate City. I could come up here and ride a BMX bike. The reason Rom was special for me is I did a lot of things first here. I did my first 360. I remember some of the worst crashes I ever had were at Rom. The performance bowl, my chain broke, and you know, I fell from the top to literally to the bottom concrete and landed on my knees, and I still feel that today. So that's what's important about Rom, because I think a lot of people, me, Craig Schofield, Craig Campbell, my brother, of course, Neil Ruffell, you know, this was a real learning ground. I think, you know, all those guys and a lot of others really learned their skills right here in this park, you know, especially me. So I remember spending literally 4 hours over there in that little part over there, just basically trying to pull off front hops. And I remember when I pulled off some front hops in 1978, the crowd went wild because I did some front hops. So it was like, you know, it was kind of wild, but it was a really good education for riding the bike. Yeah, I think my brother always surprised everybody because he, I mean, to be honest, I never saw anyone ride a bike. I know this sounds silly because of his brother, but I never saw anyone ride a bike like he did. You know, and in terms of getting air, you know, I mean, I've seen him up here. Luckily, I was, you know, retiring. Thank God. Because Neil was just ripping. I mean, I've seen him get 10 foot out of performance, you know, many times. So that was cool. I think a lot of people were surprised. They just thought, oh, yes, Andy's brother. That's why he's got a big name, because he's Andy's brother. He's 10 times better bike rider than I ever was. So it was like, you know, he deserved it. You know, so I'm just glad I retired when he was, you know, coming into his peak. It's a very special place. It's some very special people that, you know, still skate here after 40 years. And it certainly helped my career big time. You know, I basically learned to ride a bike here. That was a really tough pull, and it still is, actually. Don't believe what they tell you, that you do forget how to ride a bike. Let me tell you. I'm amazed that Rom is still here. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'm sitting here now, and I've got so many memories, personal memories here. But the fact that it's here, like, 40 years later is just crazy.